Hello. Cut. Opnieuw. In this presentation, we're going to tell you something about chapter 2, 3 and 4 of the book Exploring Strategic Change. My name is Borst and this is Bryan Koevoets. Now Bryan is going to tell you something about chapter 2.
Okay, I'm going to tell you something about chapter 2. Chapter 2, the 4 types of including adaptation, reconstruction, evolution and revolution, distinguished by the end of change and the nature of change. A key factor in determined the type of change is whether the new strategy requires transformation or just realignment. A good way to think about this is to use a framework such as the culture web. The type of change pointed just considering the end results of change, and the nature of change may not be immediately achievable. This extends consideration of the type of change, consideration of the change path. I'm going to tell you something about the book. It's about the nature of change. The nature of change is the way change is implemented. Either in an all-at-once Big Bang fashion over a period of, say, a year to 18 months, or in a more step-by-step, stage-by-stage incremental fashion. It might seem that assessing whether change is implemented rapidly or more slowly through stage initiatives is simple. Either the organization is in the crisis and needs to change fast, or it has the time on its side. Chapter 1 discusses the concept of strategic drift. It points out that many organizations are forced to change reactivity and as their performance declines. May be owed to unexpected and sudden change in a competitive environment, or due to a lack of sensing by senior managers of the growing need for change. It will seem self-evident that such organizations need to implement Big Bang change. In those organizations where the need for change is foreseen in advance, that change could be slower and more incremental. So, for example, Lloyds Bank announcements in autumn 2014 that over a period of 3 years it was going to cut thousands of staff and closed many branches as it implemented a digitization strategy, which would automate and close many branches as it implemented a digitization strategy, which would automate and modernize its businesses, also providing a cost advantage over rivals such as Santander. A digital division had already been set up to prepare for this change, which was going to cost billions of pounds. However, the choices are not as straightforward as the example of proactive change seeking first mover advantage suggests. We will devote more attention to discussing time and how different time horizons influence design choices in chapter 4. For now, it's important to note that it might be possible to face change in a way that separates what needs or has to be changed rapidly from what may be changed more slowly. This then feeds into the concept of change paths we discussed below. This another part of chapter 2 is the change paths may involve more than one type of change. For example, an enabling phase of adaptation for reconstruction, followed by evolution or revolution, to resolve aspects of context that makes the end result of change requirements not immediately possible. Many organizations may be in a situation of apparently requirement, rapid change to address performance issues and ultimately a transformation, which suggests a choice of a revolution. Yet few organizations are capable of delivering revolutions requiring them to consider a change path. Now is Mike going to tell you something about chapter 3.
So, chapter 3. Key issue when planning an appropriate change implementation approach is to decide when design choices to take. Chapter 3, Bryan has explained that building on the change pattern are 5 further design choices. A change agent needs to assign the change style, the change start point, the change target, the range of the change lever, and the key change role. All of these choices need consideration in relation to context of change to avoid application of simplistic change receptors and all the need of consideration separately for each phase of the change. But however, choosing which option to take is not straightforward. Within each change of choice there are numbers of options which created a wide variety of possible permutations. The change start point options include not just top-down or bottom-up change, but also some combination of 2 pockets of good practice. These choices can be exercised organization-wide or within pilot. The change style may vary from highly collaborative to coercive and is not necessarily dedicated by the change start point. Top-down change, for example, can still be collaborative. The change style may also vary by staff level and occupational grouping. Target change intervention may be attitudes and values, behaviors, or outputs. However, outputs are often used to indirectly achieve behavior change, and behavior change may be used to affect value change. The range of change levers is affected by the choice of change target, but maybe also other choices such as change style. The range of levers and interventions such as structures and systems, but also softer cultural interventions such as symbols and routines, and interpersonal interventions to do with communication, education, and training. The change roles are often some combination of change championships, functional delegations to use external consultants, and change action teams. It's also necessary to consider separately sustainable and individual appointment to the chosen change roles. None of these choices can be made without reference to the change context. Chapter 4 elaborates this chapter to explain how create the links between the context and the design choices. Bryan is going to tell you something about chapter 4.
Okay. I'm going to tell you something about chapter 4. In chapter 4 we have discussed the need to analyze the change context in order to avoid using inappropriate change formula. I'm going to explain in some detail how to access the 8 contextual futures. The color scope stands for time, scope, preservation, diversity, capability, readiness, capacity, and power. And how in the nature contextual futures impact under defined courses. We show how the contextual analysis is the key to successful change, since it is the context that should drive the design choices that are made rather than personal bias of a part of a change agent. This link to the change agent skill or change judgment was discussed in chapter 1. Our key skill for change agents is to be able to recognize what is critical and particular in change context and design in change process that addresses it in particular this chapter has. This chapter was explained the use of the change kaleidoscope as a diagnostic framework for mapping the change context. Describe each of the 8 contextual futures of time, scope, preservation, diversity, capability, capacity, readiness for change, and power from the kaleidoscope. This gives the design implication of each of the contextual futures, and it outlines the various diagnostic frameworks that can be used to understand the contextual futures.
So this was our explanation about chapter 2, 3 and 4. I hope you enjoyed it and have a nice day.
Have a nice day. Bye.
Bye.